Yeah, right. Exactly.
Good evening. I'd like to call the business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is September 25th, 2018, and the Board of Education is meeting at Casco Bay High School. Is this still room 200?
It is.
In room 200. Would the superintendent please call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. Mr. Atkinson.
Here.
Ms. Seeliger. Ms. Vendil. Ms. Davis. Ms. Thompson.
Here.
Ms. Mori Oni.
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Presente.
Mr. Balfons.
Here.
Ms. Clater. Ms. Farah. Ms. Yuri. Ms. Power-Rakowski, and Chair Trevorrow.
Here. And Ms. Seeliger let me know she is visiting family and will not be able to join us this evening. Ms. Vendel is not feeling well, and Ms. Davis is still recovering from injuries and won't be able to join us either. And we did excuse our student reps because we had a late start tonight and may end up going late. So would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're actually going to go out of order this evening because we did get a late start and we know that we have people waiting for us. And we're going to start with
Focus on educational issues.
yes, the focus on educational issues. And we have a report from the Portland Education Foundation. Would the superintendent like to start us off?
Yes, Madam Chair. One of the most forward-looking and innovative actions that this board has taken was the creation of the Portland Education Foundation. This action recognized that the school district has tremendous potential to attract philanthropic support for its mission and goals. The foundation has become the living representation of that potential. Through the tremendous work of the Foundation's board and Executive Director Kate Schneider, the Foundation has emerged as a visible presence in the Portland community. Over the past year, the Foundation Board has worked deliberately to evaluate its direction and devise a way to maximize their potential. Today, Kate and several board members are here to talk with you about their strategic plan and 2 new fundraising campaigns. I myself am proud to serve on the Foundation's board and to have been involved with my fellow board members in crafting this new direction, and I'm very hopeful that the Foundation will continue to evolve and become a catalyst for philanthropic and community involvement in our schools. And I'm pretty sure that you will be too. So, Kate? Oh, sorry, Mary.
Welcome and hello, and this is our annual report from the Foundation of the Portland Public Schools to the Portland Board of Public Education. I'm Mary Bennett. I am the president of the board. I have been with this work for 9+ years and have been part of the transition from an all-volunteer group unaligned with the Portland Public Schools running a teacher grant program to where we are today, well aligned with the Portland Public Schools through both a school board policy, which was adopted June 16th of 2015, policy KCE, and through an MOU, which has been signed in its second round, and it expires on June 2019. We have 1 staff person, and we have a dedicated volunteer board of directors, which includes community members, as well as the superintendent, a teacher rep who is now Sue Olafson, and a principal rep who is Derek Pierce. We have just completed our 3rd year in our current form, and we are committed to working hard to ensure the Foundation's long-standing and meaningful contributions to revenue diversification and revenue generation for the Portland Public Schools. I would now like to introduce Kate Schneider, who is our Executive Director.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
I'm Kate Schneider. I work as the Executive Director for the Foundation for Portland Public Schools. And before you, there's a little packet put together. And I wanted to just point out that our FY18 annual report is there. Hopefully you got it in your mailbox at home, but if you didn't, I wanted to make sure that you got it this evening. We make sure that you get a copy of that every year because it's a provision of the MOU, and we also make sure that you get a board list, which is in that little packet, another provision of the MOU. And so we have the opportunity to speak to you tonight more broadly than just the written report that you've received. And so I want to start out by talking about the name change, which is on the second page of the annual report. The board, the Foundation Board of Directors voted to change the name of the foundation from the Portland Education Foundation to the Foundation for Portland Public Schools at their annual meeting in June. Our reason for being is Portland Public Schools. And although we're an independent nonprofit, our existence and our mission is tied to Portland Public Schools. We're here to generate philanthropic support for Portland Public Schools. And so really this makes us an institutionally aligned foundation. So what's an institutionally aligned foundation? These are foundations that are nonprofit organizations dedicated to the support of a college, a university system, a school district, or a teaching hospital. The primary purpose is to raise and or manage private support for the institution with which they are affiliated. So that's us. The name change to the Foundation for Portland Public Schools, it matters because it very clearly articulates the alignment that the foundation has with Portland Public Schools. Our work, much like the development offices at Waynfleet or Thornton or Chevrolet, or the Foundation for Maine's Community College System or the USM Foundation, is to generate support for the education institute we serve. The sole mission of an institutionally related foundation is irrevocably linked to the educational institution the foundation serves. And the independence and long-term nature of the foundation are steadying forces that can benefit the institution at difficult times. We believe the name matters because it tells the story. We're here for Portland Public Schools. There's no confusion about why we're here and who we are here to serve. Your priorities are our priorities. We work in support of district goals and priorities, and we look to the Portland Promise. And so we're excited to be here this evening. We're making progress. We're ever mindful of how we were conceived and how we're evolving. In January 2015, seems like a long time ago, but it really wasn't. The Education Foundation Steering Committee delivered a report, and in that report, they asked, why does Portland need an education foundation, and why is now the time? And in that report, they answer, an effective education foundation builds community by engaging community at the district level. It drives interest and enthusiasm for innovation and provides a pathway for investment. It's the vehicle through which individuals, businesses, and foundations and alumni can plug directly in to affect opportunities and initiatives designed to improve student experiences and outcomes, therefore strengthening Portland Public Schools and, by extension, the City of Portland. We are working hard to ensure the Foundation's longstanding and meaningful contributions to revenue diversification and revenue generation for Portland Public Schools. So I want to just tell you a couple of quick stories about the progress that we're making, and you see them in the annual report. I'm going to start with LL Bean. So we started with a relationship with LL Bean, and it has evolved and it continues to evolve. In FY18, as you can see, they gave gifts in a variety of ways through the foundation to affect Portland Public Schools. So in the fall, they started with a contribution of backpacks for middle school and high school students. The retail value of that gift was about $4,000, but it was given in the form of backpacks. A little bit later, they gave a meaningful contribution to the teacher grants program that's run by the foundation. And then not too long after that, they gave a meaningful contribution of thousands of books that were scholastic books that they had from a partnership. And so that's called a gift in kind. They transferred that to us. So it's kind of the story of when we spend time and develop relationships, opportunities come our way, but if you're not there developing the relationship, and providing that vehicle for investment, people don't know where to go. So it's a similar story with Unum. In FY18, we began the school year, and they reached out a couple of times and said, we're restructuring our office space. Do you have any use for things like conference tables, chairs, things that we said yes to and that are now used at the central office, at Portland High School. Unum also generously supported summer programming for our middle school students, and that was something that happened in the springtime. And throughout the year, they were generous with things like meeting space. And so those are just two examples of ways that these relationships are forming, and they're benefiting Portland Public Schools in a variety of ways. Another exciting small story is that in year one, nobody was calling me at all, and not so much in year two. But last year, I got a phone call at my desk, and it was somebody who was interested in directing some donor-advised funds our way. And what that became through a matching gift with Unum, because one of the donors happens to be an employee at Unum, it was the creation of a fund at Reiki School. And so now there's a $15,000 fund called the Annetta Weatherhead Fund for Reiki School, which is directed to support specific things at Reiki School, and it also gives them an opportunity to use discretionary funding. So what's exciting there to me is that people sought us out as the vehicle through which they could create this funding opportunity for a school in Portland. So I could stand up here and talk for a long time, but I'm going to wrap up my report to you this evening by sharing some information in a very recent memo from the superintendent to the principals about philanthropy. And to me, it's kind of exciting that we're talking about philanthropy and what it means to public education. So the superintendent states our overarching goals related to Portland Public Schools philanthropy management are these: to take good care of donor and partner relationships, to offer consistency of approach and management across schools, departments, and the district, to manage relationships in order to foster longevity and mutually successful outcomes, and to strategically grow and deepen our relationships with donors to benefit individual schools and the district overall. This is our work, this is our reason for being. As you all know, it takes time and dedication to build this presence, one that will persist for the long run for Portland Public Schools. We believe that diversification and expansion of funding for public education is important, and we believe you do too. Consequently, the foundation is critical to support this work. As students and families cycle their way through any given system, it's the foundation that promises to bridge the gap to alumni, individuals, and businesses that are inclined to support public education. The foundation's work never graduates, it moves on or cycles out of the system. Our work is in support of students, teachers, and the public education system. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Josh Rent. He's a board member, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about the recently adopted strategic plan and how we plan to continue our evolution and growth.
So yes, I'm Josh Rent. I'm the treasurer of the foundation. I just handed you a copy of our new 3-year strategic plan we just voted on in June. That came about because we did a board retreat last January, and I'm a financial planner during the daytime, and so having a clear plan moving forward makes sense to me. And I think the board agreed that we needed to map some of this stuff out. So I'm not going to go through it point by point. But the main talking points are, first is growth. We obviously want to grow, and so one of the ways we're going to go about that is we know we probably are going to need more help than just Kate or just the executive director, so we're going to look at capacity to bring on extra staff, and we're going to fund that position is the goal. But we want to do that in a sustainable manner. And so sustainability, to me at least, is important because I don't think it's realistic to think that a donor is going to give the same amount every year. There needs to be revenue diversification and donor diversification. But the hope is that the district will know there's kind of a baseline of support from the foundation every year that's repeatable and sustainable. So we're thinking about that. The communication piece is important, not only internally in the district. I think that communication piece is getting better. But the way, or where I hope we get to at some point, is that the school board, district employees, and our board kind of all speak with one voice. I think we have a positive story to tell, and I think that's important. We talk about the brand a little bit. Really, the brand in my mind is two things. The brand is Portland Public Schools. We don't really have our own brand. But it's also, what's our value proposition to the district? You know, I think there's a meaningful story there. And then behind this, which you don't need to see all that level of detail, I don't think, but we did create a one-year work plan that is much more detailed. It's ambitious. You know, we're an all-volunteer board, so I hope we can kind of get through some of this stuff. But it builds on all of those talking points, and it really gets back to, we want to help diversify revenue sources, and we want to generate significant revenue for the district. You know, it's a positive story. And then I think the last thing I'll say is, well, two things. Thank you so much for your support of the foundation and all the hard work you do for Portland Public Schools. I know that you probably aren't thanked enough. And what I'm passionate about is this is a unique opportunity. You know, I don't think a lot of public school systems are thinking about philanthropy this way. And in my mind, every Portland resident should care about a strong public school system, you know? And this is the community I've decided to adopt as my home, and this is the way I try and contribute back. So without further ado, I'll introduce Sara.
So, good evening. Thank you for your service to the community, and thank you for having me speak on behalf of the Foundation for Portland Public Schools. My name is Sara Fortin, and I've been on the board for almost a year and a half, proudly serving on the Development Committee. I was 6 years on the Portland High School Boosters, being very actively involved in that, and so when my kids graduated, I had a new home to go to, so I'm very thrilled to be here. So, as Josh mentioned, we've been working diligently on an overall strategic plan and annual work plans to ensure the foundation will make meaningful contributions to revenue diversification and revenue generation for public education over the long haul. We aim to grow with an intention. But how? Well, we have two campaigns that we're starting. The Visionaries campaign. There are those in the community who can see the long-term positive impacts of a foundation to support Portland Public Schools. They have the ability to contribute over $1,000 or more, and often these contributions are multi-year pledges. These donors are important because they can catalyze other donors to make a gift, and planned giving allows the foundation to reliably meet our investments. And when I think about, you know, the potentials out there, Javier, at my daughter's graduation, I think you asked how many of you in the audience are from Portland, and it was very shocking, actually, to see how many hands went up, the multi-generational families that are out there. So there's kind of people that you think, you know, would like to give, and we want to find them and help them find their way to making a pledge. The other thing is a capacity building campaign. The mission of the Foundation of Portland Public Schools is to raise philanthropic support to enhance educational opportunities for present and future students in the Portland Public Schools. And our vision is to strengthen the schools through community investment. And while Kate is fantastic, we have the opportunity to grow exponentially if we can add an additional staff member. The capacity building campaign will provide for the addition of a second staff person for a period of 3 years. It would allow the district to achieve confidence regarding ongoing annual support for advancement efforts based on both revenue growth and return on investment. We believe there are many more opportunities available at the Portland Public Schools in the realm of community and philanthropic support and partnerships. We believe the philanthropy can seed exciting, meaningful investments. So, as you canvass the neighborhoods and meet with your constituents, and if one says, I wish I could do more, send them to the foundation. We'll take care of them. And then also, we would love to have your name on our annual report as well. Having elected officials strengthens our brands and shows that we're all in this together. So hopefully we can get a pledge from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Thank you all. And I just wanted to come back and offer to answer any questions if there are any, or pass them off to board members if that's the more appropriate route.
Any questions? Ms. Mori Oni.
First of all,
They're on, yeah.
hi. First of all, I just want to say thank you so very, very much. I remember back in the day when it was all, an idea of how to bring this to fruition, and I've just been extremely impressed by the amount of work, dedication, and money that has been raised, that has been given back to our schools, specifically to the teachers and students. So my question is this: so with the new path forward, the strategic plan, the funding will it still go through teacher grants, or that teacher grants will be a part of it, and then there will be additional opportunities for, when you say it's aligned with our needs in the district and our Portland Promise, can you be more specific around that?
I think I can be. Yes. So every time you're talking with somebody who's interested in working with the school district to make an investment, you want to get a sense of what's important to that person. And so part of being donor-centric and being good managers of donor relationships is to be starting with the question of what's important to you. And so our job is to work very closely with the district to be fluent in what are the opportunities within the district and what is the good fit for any given donor. The majority of contributions that come in are restricted gifts. So for example, if you look at the annual report and you turn to the page right before where the donors are listed, you'll see that the Stephen and Tabitha King Foundation granted a $50,000 award to us in support of K through 5 literacy resources. That's a restricted gift. We wrote a grant application with a need in mind that the district shared with us when this opportunity came across our radar, and we made the match. So we were really lucky to get the award, but when the funding came in, we knew exactly what it was going to be used for because we wrote a grant for that particular reason. So if you look underneath that feature, you'll see that, as Ms. Mori Oni highlighted, we have several grant opportunities, which are ways that we funnel funding directly to Portland Public Schools staff in the form of teacher grants, also summer innovation grants, and we work with the Maine Audubon to do a teacher grants program specific to programming with Audubon. If you look at the inside spread, you're going to see a lot more of those restricted gifts. That's where the donor and the foundation have worked together with the district to find the right fit. So that's our work. Typically, funding doesn't come to us that doesn't have direction. And if it does, we tend to funnel it toward those grants programs. But what we would like to do is to be able to be as responsive as possible to any funder in the community who has an interest in talking about where they would like to see investment, and then make the right fit with the district. We're very conscious of the wrong fit, right? So we don't want to take funding in that's not going to be well received by the district, and it's not going to be well implemented, because that really doesn't benefit anybody. The district's not going to be happy, the donor's not going to be happy, the foundation will not have done its job well. So our job is to find the right and appropriate fit, and to then make sure that that relationship persists. So it's not a one and done. That would be too bad, really. If we have somebody coming forward who's expressing an interest in support of the school district, and we find a pretty good fit, and then that goes away. That's not what we want. We want to be able to grow the relationship and maintain the relationship. And, you can't always do that 100%, but at least you can make those efforts, and that's the right thing to do.
Any other questions? Any comments?
I'll comment. Go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Atkinson.
I mostly just want to say thank you and really appreciate all of the work that you do to bring funding to our district that needs it, that needs the help. So thank you so much for all that you do. I guess it just sort of following, it just popped up in your response to the last question. When we do get the unrestricted funds, do we have sort of a list of these are the district priorities that those unrestricted funds would go towards, or is that something that's in development? I guess just if somebody just wants to be a donor and help out the schools, do we have sort of here are the things that we will do with this unrestricted funding?
Yes. The foundation board approves a fundraising budget at the beginning of any fiscal year, and there are places within those fundraising goals where we know that we're going to be looking to bring unrestricted funds to benefit any given goal that we have. So, for example, it could be the teacher grants program. Or it could be another grants program that we say, we know we're going to bring in unrestricted funds through our annual appeal, for example, and it's likely that some of that funding will get directed to this goal or that goal. If somebody were to approach us with kind of an unexpected larger gift that was unrestricted and we wanted to work together to find the right fit, we can do that too. And so the alignment with the district that we've all been talking about is so important because funders are happy when their contribution is being well used, and the district is happy when it's a relevant fit. And so that's really what we're trying to do, kind of every day as we work together. The superintendent and other leadership at the district level is very involved with kind of what's percolating. So it's a lot of communication, and I think that it's pretty exciting to be a part of because, in my opinion, it just keeps growing. Every day that we're doing this work, the funnel gets larger, and we get more opportunities within it.
Could I just add one other thing? It's just an idea that I've had as I received this in the mail a couple weeks ago. I was wondering, is there any program or is there any thought to sort of like a long tail strategy? Maybe like I'm thinking of I'm a member of Maine Public Broadcasting, evergreen member. Every month I get I give a small donation. Is there an idea of doing something like that for Portland Public Schools?
Yes. So tonight, you can go onto our website and you can make a contribution that is recurring. And so you can choose to have your gift recur monthly, weekly, annually. And one of the ways that we hope to hit that visionary campaign goal that we have of donors who give at or above the $1,000 level is to give folks the opportunity to think about what a monthly gift would look like in order to achieve the $1,000 annual giving level. And so, yes, we have that, and you'll be hearing more from the foundation about various opportunities when it comes to recurring gifts.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ms. Thompson and then Mr. Rodriguez.
So I'm not going to repeat what anybody said, but I just want to thank you again. The superintendent, through his updates to us on a weekly basis, lets us know the various meetings that you and he attend. And so you're both very busy, I know, meeting with potential donors. So thank you for all of that. I just want to ask you a technical question. With the name change, do we need to amend our MOU? I know you're probably on top of that, but...
So that's a great question, and with a name change comes all sorts of details that you anticipate some and not others. So we're legally making the name change because we're a 501c3 that's recognized by the IRS and the state of Maine. So we're making that legal change so once that legal change is made, then everything can flow from there. And I was noticing that the school board policy might
Yes.
be quickly amended. I would say that the MOU, there's no need to, I mean, we don't legally need to change it before it expires in June of 2019, but certainly heading into the next round, we would do that. And if we want to change it midstream just to have it be up to date, we can certainly do that. That's easy enough.
I was going to ask too, is there anything that prevents us from making the name change and then extending it at the same time?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
You can go back into that agreement at any time.
Okay. So we don't have to wait for it to come up to expire. We can add on.
You don't. And I just wanted to sort of leap on a portion of your comment and question, which is that having a superintendent in place who is supportive of this work is it's critical. We do go to meetings together, and when I was working in those early stages where we had that education steering committee advising what this might look like, we had folks from the philanthropy community in Portland saying, if you want to make an effective ask, you've got a few people at the table, and one of them is from the foundation and one of them is school district leadership. And it's a far more effective ask if a board member or I can pair up with the superintendent or a staff member to go out and have a donor meeting. That's the right thing to do, and I'm so thrilled that we have that opportunity right now in Portland. We've got a great superintendent who is really helping us advance this work, and so I want to say thank you and let you all know that that's what's happening.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to also say thank you to the board members that are here and all the work that you guys are doing. It is very exciting times for the philanthropic work that you guys are promoting and the way that you guys are helping throughout the district. And thank you, Kate, for what you just said about the superintendent and how supportive he is of this work. I wanted to just point out, because of how strong the relationship is and how in touch Javier is with you guys, very recently through Operations Committee, as we're reviewing the recommendations that were made from the Portland Public Schools Food Security Task Force, one of the ideas that was brought up by Javier said, well, let's talk to Portland Education Foundation, or now the Foundation for Portland Public Schools, to see if they can help us find a fund. So it's really exciting, because that's work that I personally care a lot about. It's really exciting to know that you guys are an option for us to build on things that we care so much about, and that really make a direct impact on our students and our families' lives. So again, thank you so much for recognizing that Javier is so supportive of you, and of course for all the work that you guys are doing every day.
Thank you.
I also just want to echo the sentiments of thank you. It's obviously very good work that's been going on, and my tenure on the board is just long enough to have seen this from its inception and the work that kind of preceded it, and it's obvious that it's working year after year. It's expanding, and when we go through the budget cycles like we just did, having this foundation in place is such a meaningful partnership. I think, I can't even express how grateful we are to have that in place. So thank you for your work, and to all your board members who have been with it from the beginning and have really stepped up and are always at these meetings to report back to us too. So we appreciate your work.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been so lucky, as you said, back to the inception. We started, and Jeannie Crocker was the interim superintendent who served on the foundation board, and that was a great first year. And I just want to mention that in addition to the board members who spoke this evening, and thank you to all three of you who did that, we've got Steve Siegel here, who's a relatively new foundation board member who happens to be a Portland High alum. Right. So we have a great board of folks who are helping steer this organization, and really grateful. Thank you for having us tonight.
Can I just make a quick comment? So I want to extend the thank you that board members have given to the foundation board and to you, Kate, for your leadership on this. I think for me, this is not something that I really understood fully when I started. I'm familiar with school districts with foundations, but they are different from where this is evolving. And I think that the reason it's evolved this way is because of the tremendous work that Kate and others have done to really sort of look at the at the field and look at, what do the foundations that lead the pack in raising funds for school districts, how are they structured and what do they do? And I think that the benchmarking work that they've done around, sort of not just looking at other school districts, although they've done that as well, but looking at what do private schools do and what are they able to raise. And in doing all of that, I think they've certainly helped me to think about the foundation differently from the way that I did originally. And I would venture to say that the foundation board and Kate, that we've all been in this process together. And so today was really an opportunity to help you to see what this direction looks like. So this is not the same foundation that we started 3 years ago. It is an evolution, the next step that is based on a better understanding of the potential for the foundation. And that's in no way, shape, or form meant to demean what the work has been to date, because that's the work that's in that brochure and in last year's brochure, and that gave people the incited you to say, yeah, this is something that we need to do as a community, as a district. And it is this natural evolution. But I think, as Sara said, it's really overwhelming when you look over Merrill Auditorium and you see that there are the parents of 400 kids that are in there, and you ask them to say how many of you are graduates of Portland High School, and fully a third of the room's hands go up. That there is tremendous potential for connecting this community even more deeply to the work that we do as a school district. And I've always said I feel incredibly fortunate to be in this organization and have the opportunity to do that, but it's because of the work that's already in place and the people that are so deeply knowledgeable of the district, knowledgeable of the district's work, and committed to that work, that we're able to do that. So, I know that, the foundation's campaign to build capacity is critical for us because, we raise good money with Kate's tremendous work, and having additional support built to do that is not to sort of double that amount, but to exponentially grow that. So if we're able to really understand our alumni base, if we're really able to nurture those relationships with, with organizations and individuals who are committed to the work that we're trying to do in the Portland Public Schools, we can, turn $500,000 into, a lot more than $1 million. And I think that that's what we're shooting for. And Kate always hates it when I say that, but
no, I love it.
But it's true.
I do.
It is something that is very much attainable, and I know that that we're on the right track, and we have the right people and the right leadership and the right vision to do this work. So I'm really, really excited about it.
Me too.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So going back now to, I think we're on report of the chair. So actually, this evening, I just wanted to ask Ms. Thompson if she could update us. She's been following the NSBA enrollment details, and I asked her if she might just comment to the board on that opportunity.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have, for the last 2 years, attended the National School Board Association Conference. 2 years ago, myself and Ms. Mori Oni went to Colorado, and then this past year, we grew it to 3 people going, myself, Mr. Rodriguez, and Ms. Seeliger. We went to San Antonio, Texas. And this year, it is being held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And actually, this is the 4th year because we went to Boston the first year. All of us went because it was so close by. So we've tried to make this a goal for the board to send as many as we can. There is a lot of workshops that happen at these events, a lot of connections. I know that I was very impressed with Mr. Rodriguez in San Antonio. He made so many outreaches and connections with people across the country, and it was amazing of how many people you connected with. So it is a great opportunity. Ms. Mori Oni and I met some people in Colorado that we're still speaking with from Mississippi and other states. So it's great, all the connections you couldn't do it without. So the conference this year starts on Friday, pre-conferences on March 29th, and goes through Monday, April 1st. And again, it's in Philadelphia. And the superintendent, in his weekly update, put out the notice to the board, if you're interested, to please express your interest to himself and the chair. And hopefully, cost-wise, we can send more people where it's a little bit closer than San Antonio and Colorado. And we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so if you're interested, because we will at some point need to approve funds from the board in order to go to that, so we just want to take stock of everybody who's interested. And in addition to that, I just wanted to remind board members that we do have a special meeting on October 9th. That will be just for the purpose of a workshop on the appointments for the commission for the facilities and capacity study.
And a first read.
And a first read. And with that, I will move into report of the superintendent. There is no report of the students.
Okay, so I am going to skip a couple of things, and we'll do them next week, but I do want to recognize that Deering High School senior Alan Manga will be attending the 18 by 18 Summit in Los Angeles, California, and this is an invitation-only event bringing together young leaders from across the country. 18 by 18 is an initiative to educate and engage the next generation of voters in America through the power of creative storytelling, and we all know that that is Alan. Alan will also be kicking off the Pop Tech Conference at Point Lookout in Camden by reciting a poem and being interviewed on stage. The theme of the conference is Courage Confirmed, and it brings together thought leaders, innovators, and opinion makers from throughout the country. I know that I've sent the board the list of the people that are invited to that session, and it's an incredibly impressive list, and it speaks volumes of Alan and his talent, his courage, and how it's inspired us, and it's recognized here, but it is also gaining recognition in other places, and so I think it's important to highlight that. Tomorrow evening, we open this year's Parent University with a session about college admissions and proficiency-based learning. We welcome college admission counselors from several colleges and universities that routinely accept students graduating with proficiency-based diplomas. As you know, Casco Bay High School is an experienced proficiency-based school and has a long track record of having students admitted to selective colleges across the country. We hear all the time that colleges look holistically at students. They accept students who have normative high school experiences, but they also accept students that are homeschooled and anywhere in between. So I encourage any families that are uncertain about how colleges review students with non-traditional transcripts to attend this session at Deering High School tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. Other upcoming Parent University events include a session on the timely topic of teens and vaping, and a screening and interactive discussion of the documentary Dawnland to bring attention to the quest for justice for Maine's Native American people as part of our Indigenous Peoples Day celebration. Parent University began last year as part of our Portland Promise strategy to engage our community, particularly our parents, to learn and teach each other around relevant topics. I'm excited for what will be a second great Parent University season, and I'm grateful to the Maine Community Foundation for their support of this effort. But I also want to recognize Grace Valenzuela, who's over there, I'm sure sending me a million emails, our Executive Director for Communication and Community Partnership, and her team, particularly Nanette Dyer Blake and Jay Butcher, and of course Henry Giroux, who's over in the booth, for their countless hours that they put in to make Parent University a reality. As part of our commitment to engaging with our community, we have opened the input survey for the enrollment and facility study. We also have the application for community members who are interested in being appointed to the Enrollment and Capacity Study Commission. Both the survey and the application are on our website and accessible on our Facebook page. So please take the time to share your thoughts with the survey, and if you can, also commit to sharing some of your time to continue to make the Portland Public Schools better. I'm going to skip this. I'll talk about it later. So to conclude this section on the agenda, one more thing. I'm trying to skip around here. Thursday will be the grand opening celebration at the Amanda C. Rowe Elementary School. Things are off to a strong start at Rowe, but this will be a great opportunity for the entire community to get a peek at the result of this great partnership between the school district, the City of Portland, and the state of Maine. Please join Principal Keniston and the Rowe extended family for this wonderful event. And now, to conclude this section of the agenda, my report, I would like to turn this over to Barbara Stoddard, our Executive Director for Human Resources. She will update the board on our second season of Teach Portland. As you know, our Portland Promise specifically states that our people are central to our ability to meet our achievement, whole student, and equity goals. And we recognize that we are only able to do that if we are able to recruit, support, and engage a talented and diverse team. Data has shown that students benefit greatly from having role models that reflect the diversity of our student body. Most recently, a New York Times article highlighted this by distilling much of this research into a conclusion that teacher diversity affects student learning. Teach Portland has been our effort to identify and support diverse teaching candidates for our schools. Barb Stoddard has been a true champion of this effort and has worked tirelessly to conceive and execute on it. I'm very grateful to Barb for her efforts, and I know you will be too after you hear her presentation. So, Barb, take it away.
Good evening, and thank you. If you could slide the cover open. I just have a few slides. There we go. So, can you guys see? Yeah. The superintendent asked me to just give a brief update on our summer program, Teach Portland. If you recall, this is one component of our diversity recruiting strategy. So just to re-ground you back in the promise and the work that we're doing with the people goal, it is focused on attracting and retaining and supporting talented and diverse people. So this is really just an update on one of the strategies, which is building and implementing a diversity recruitment strategy. So if you recall, there are two areas of focus under the diversity recruitment strategy that we're putting our energy towards, and that is our recruitment and hiring practices and the Grow Your Own program, which is Teach Portland. I shared in June how we're doing on this work with things like talking about our hiring teams and our hiring practices, looking at strategic partnerships, and also working on our Grow Your Own program, which is Teach Portland. So we're in our second year. If you can see, here's the data from the second year. We, again, happened to have 43 participants. The breakdown was a little bit different this year. We had a few more high school students participate than we did last year. Our college students, I mean, the numbers are very close, and interestingly enough, we had fewer adults this year than last year. So we were across 9 locations this year instead of just in 5 buildings, a little bit more spread out. This year we had 2 professional development offerings instead of 1 course. We had 1 course at USM last year, if you remember. This year we split the group in 2. We had 1 course called Teaching in a Diverse Society, and that was for the younger crowd. We had 8 students take that, and we had 18 adults take our special ed exceptionality course, and those folks now have a certificate that they can give to the state that will go towards teaching certification, so that was pretty exciting. We also had 15 folks who repeated, who came back this year from last year. So the real thing that we want to share with you tonight, which we're very excited about, is some program branding that we've been working on. So we were really fortunate that Nellie Mae had a little bit of money left over at the end of the year last year that they dedicated towards some communication for us. And so we brought in someone to help us do a couple of videos about teaching and about the program. And so I'm going to show you one of the two videos that we will ultimately use to engage people. They'll be up on the Portland Promise website. So this is sort of a launch of some work that we want to do to have more information out there about the program. So let's see if we can run it.
Hi, my name is Barkat Bayro. I wanted to teach because that I have that talent. That was my gift from back in Eritrea. I have been teaching for 15 years.
My name is Kelly Wallant. I'm the literacy specialist at Lyman Moore Middle School in Portland, Maine. Every day I sit back and I see the complexities of the humans sitting before me, and I know that one day they're going to be running the show, and I want to be a part of the process, and I want to help them grow up to be their best selves.
My name is Rowan Henry, and I'm an English language instructor at Portland High School. You're looking at each student and you're trying to say to them, this is how you learn, this is your strength, and this is how your strengths fit into the big picture. This is how you matter in our school, this is how you matter in our community, this is how you matter in the classroom, this is how you matter with the peer that I pair you up with. It's exciting.
My name is Sara Fortin, and I am a senior. I am part of a program that's called Teach Portland, and I am getting to know more about teaching. I'm getting to be in a real classroom. I love the fact that many kids have different learning styles, and it's interesting to see how kids act towards an action that I take, since I have the power over them, which is so cool.
Yeah, teaching is the highest and the best profession in the world. Many days, every day, we are learning. A person who is not learning cannot grow.
I'm constantly surrounded by the most amazing people and kids who inspire me to become a better human being.
It doesn't compare to any other profession in the sense that it's going to feed your soul.
Being a teacher is actually very difficult, but it's a very valuable job. Being a teacher is like a blessing.
This is one of two videos. We have a second one of Sabara just talking as a student, which I'm really excited to be sharing that with students to start engaging people in this process. Grace informed me that these are, in fact, up on the website under the people section, and so over time we'll be adding other information there so that we'll be directing people to there to find out more about the program. That's all I've got. I'm happy to answer questions. If people have any questions about the program, I just want to share the video with you.
You have tissues?
That was wonderful, Barb. Thank you very much for all your hard work around this. It's not an easy task to do. I can only imagine. My question is, are we able to also, if they're not able to find a teaching spot yet, but they have the enthusiasm to be in the classroom and they want to be helpful, are we able to find them ways to volunteer in the schools, or like a way to still get into our schools?
And are you talking about the adults?
Yeah, the adults.
Yeah, so part of the work that we're doing is looking at the pathways for students and looking at the pathways for adults. And Adult Ed right now is developing a semester-long teacher pathway. And so part of that, the goal of part of that is to be working with them to be creating internships and volunteer opportunities while students are participating in that. And I'm not sure if that's going to launch this fall. I know she's been working on that. She has a grant to do that work. So we have been, it's very labor intensive. And so I've been meeting with people, so I have my eye on a couple of people that I'm really dedicated to getting either an ed tech authorization or to moving forward. But certainly this year it's been interesting. We've been calling people to people who, some of the adults that participated this summer, because we have a sub shortage. And so we've been engaging them as we can to come in and try and start getting into the schools more. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Barb. Appreciate the presentation. This is something that I care so much about, and I appreciate all the work that you've done. So we had 43 participants. How many applicants did we have? I don't know if you mentioned it or not.
We had a lot. We had almost 80 applicants this year, and we actually thought we'd have 60 people in the program. And for whatever reason, and it could be the economy, we often see a drop-off with the high school students. So they get jobs, they travel, they forget to tell us they're not coming. And so that's an expectation, but we were surprised at the drop in the numbers, and I'm not sure what it was, and it could have just been the year. Okay. But we had expected almost 60 people.
Okay. And that...
I learned a new term for that today. It's called the flake out rate.
Flake, yeah, flake out, yeah.
That's an actual term of art that is used.
That's really funny. That's a much larger number of applicants than we did on the first year. So I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about how we are letting people know about this, and what is driving that greater number of applicants, because obviously you're doing something right.
So we started earlier, we spent more time out in the schools, we had more teachers helping us to generate applicants, and so for sure we had a lot more high school kids interested this year. We basically get it out through lots of different channels, and I think the success of the first year, people got engaged about it and people were talking about it more, so that helped.
Awesome. Yeah, it's kind of like it sells itself. Yeah. Just real quick, the video was awesome. I know Ms. Walland. I've known her for many years before I even thought about being on the school board, and she's actually one of those teachers that after I said something really naive and just straight up dumb about the teaching profession, she was really quick to point me in the right direction. But and I love Ms. Wallen so much. I have no idea how much, and I know her children, her family, her husband and I worked together for many years. I have so much respect for them. And I've been in Mr. Henry's class with Javier, actually. We visited. So I do know the passion and the love that these folks have for the profession, and it's great to see the video and to share it with people. I can't wait to check out on the website and share it. Thank you.
Yeah, great energy from everybody in that video.
Anyone else? I think it's awesome. That's all I have to say. It's great work. It's very exciting. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Barb.
Does that conclude your report?
It does conclude my report.
All right, so we're on to report of the secretary. Right. Consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes of September 4th, 2018. Is there a motion? Ms. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. Are there any questions on the meeting minutes? Seeing none, any public comment on the meeting minutes? Seeing none, any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes of September 4th, 2018, please indicate. It's unanimous. Report of the committees. Curriculum and Educational Planning, Ms. Mori Oni.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Curriculum and Ed Planning committee met last night, actually, and unfortunately I had to leave a little early from it, but the purpose of that meeting last night was to talk about the budget and to talk about how much from the budget is specifically dedicated to curriculum. And it's an eye-opening number. It's a very small percentage. And so the importance of that was just to highlight what the focus, ensuring that the focus of the resources are specifically allocated to the Portland Promise goals. And so I apologize, I can't really speak to a lot of it, but I'd like to ask either Tim or Mark if you'd like to highlight anything else from last night since I had to leave early.
Sure. I think the main takeaway for me was just the large amount of prioritized things that we would like to do in the area of curriculum, and I think it's just important that the board be aware of those things and how they're aligned to the plan and how new needs that are surfaced may fit in and may be prioritized in that list. I mean, to get into very briefly into some of the specifics, we spend essentially nothing on social studies curriculum. We have, I think, one half-time teacher who's on a leave right now, who's doing some work around the Wabanaki history, and that's it. And that's a one-year, one-off thing. It was very similar for STEM. It was very similar for math is really the one place where we're investing right now in curriculum. So it's pretty eye-opening. It's pretty shocking. I mean, we had talked about it in less detail leading into the budget last year, but this was very thorough and put a fine point on it.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that, I think it'd be helpful for the Finance Committee and probably the whole board just to take a look at it as this particular presentation as we go into budgeting.
But it's interesting. Maybe we can do something more around that.
Yeah, and I would concur that it's helpful to start early looking at it and looking at what we are currently investing, but also areas that we would want to focus, again, deciding as a board how that might potentially happen. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Operations, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, since my last report from the Operations Committee, we've met twice. On August 28th, we met at the district offices, and at that time, the committee received information from Facilities Director Stephen Stilfen on potential investments for the school portions of the city's FY 2020 CIP request, specifically to consider security upgrades throughout the district, including secure door access programs and improved glass safety options. We also received an update from Facilities Coordinator Doug Sherwood on the ongoing work to complete various summer projects throughout the district. The committee also met with members from the Portland Public Schools Food Security Task Force. You heard me mention them earlier today when we talked about the foundation's work. We reviewed the next steps to advance the recommendations from the Food Fuels Learning Report that you recall was presented to the board back in August. This is critical work taking place in order to eliminate child hunger in our communities. I'm extremely proud of the work that Portland Public Schools is doing, partnering with the Cumberland County Food Security Council, Cultivating Community, Food Corps, and many other organizations for this work. I've shared some information with some board members and community members about the way that we're advancing this. And like I said before, Javier has brought up some ideas to further support this work, so we're really excited about that. Operations Committee also met in September 20th, last met on September 20th at District Office, and we began planning the Portland Public Schools 2020 CIP request. We discussed parameters outlined by the city manager for approximately $15 million worth of investments. That's for the entire city's request, not just the schools portion. Important to note that. The committee was able to narrow down a list totaling, we got 15 mil. The committee was able to narrow down a list of about $5 million worth of investments. And then the staff is going to verify some of the numbers and the estimates that we were using during our review to then bring back to the committee so that we can discuss during our next meeting, which is scheduled for October 30th at 6 p.m. at District Office. One thing that I think is worth noting as we began this process, a very clear difference from the last couple of years. When we began to prioritize the projects for this year, there weren't any obvious safety or ADA compliance issues or any otherwise like scary items that some of us, the parents, might cringe about. Instead, we're focusing on the carryover of the engineering studies for renovations, energy savings items, and security upgrades. So this is all due to a lot of the work that that we've done in operations and facilities director and the superintendent has been doing, and we should all be very proud of that work because it's put us at a place that a couple of years ago, I mean, we were literally talking about putting children at risk. We were talking about serious safety concerns, and we've been able to kind of get ahead of that. And like I said, now we're investing into improving security, energy savings, and things that really strengthen our district. So again, just to repeat, our next meeting is going to be October 30th at 6 p.m. at district offices. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mori Oni.
Can I just state the next curriculum meeting is also October 30th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just make a quick comment?
Yes.
Because I totally forgot, spaced on this, but it sort of came back when Mr. Rodriguez did the report for the Operations Committee. We are sitting in one of those summer projects from our CIP, which is the great space and, still an under construction new entrance to Casco Bay High School. So obviously this looks great if you didn't get a chance to tour, but if you walk down that hall and around, you'll be amazed. It actually looks really, really good. And so this is tremendous work that happened this year.
Thank you. Finance and Personnel, Ms. Vendel is not here. Is anyone from staff prepared to update on that?
I was not at the last Finance Committee because we had the Operations Committee concurrently, or policy, I think, concurrently. And so I am not prepared, and Alicia is just coming back from vacation today.
We can table that until next time. Policy, Legislative Public Affairs, Ms. Seeliger is not here. Anyone from staff?
I was at that meeting.
Okay.
But I know also Mr. Atkinson was. Do you want to report? You want me to report?
I'm happy to. I actually pulled out my agenda to recall what we were discussing. The two big things that we discussed on the 11th of September were a social media policy that we need to dig into in more detail in our next meeting, and planning for some public affairs things coming up in the fall, mostly around the facilities and capacity review. And so we were just reviewing the plan and chose direction to have neighborhood meetings, neighborhood forums for each of the neighborhoods in town.
Thank you.
And those meetings are now in the process of being scheduled, and you've received information on where we are, where we're going to be. We're still finalizing the meetings, but.
Any other, Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The superintendent spoke briefly about it, but the Appointments Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, October 3rd, in an executive session at Central Office to review the names that will come forward from the commission application. We did have on the website a application that people could apply to be on the Enrollment and Facility Study Commission, and the deadline, I believe, was today.
October 1st.
Oh, now it's October 1st. Thank you. I have the old version of it here. And basically, questions were explaining why they wanted to be a part of the commission and what specific areas of expertise do they bring to the work. Myself, Ms. Mori Oni, and Mr. Balfons are on that committee, and we will be bringing forward names based upon the resolution of the number of community members, et cetera, for your consideration. I also wanted to mention, as the superintendent did as well, that a very special day on Thursday, which will be the Amanda Ciro Elementary School dedication, something very near and dear to my heart. And I encourage everybody to come out and probably bring your tissues. The family will be speaking, as will some of the building committee members. And thank you. It'll take place obviously at the school, and it's at 6:30 on Thursday night. And in addition to that, I just wanted to remind people that we are still collecting stories about Nurse Rowe, Amanda Rowe. And if you'd like to contribute, you can email your story to nurserowestories@gmail.com. And what our intent is to create a book so that the current students who did not know Amanda can read and learn why the school is being named for her and what a special individual she was. The Rowe School PTO is also fundraising for a new playground. The state allocates X amount of dollars, which is very minimal, to the playground. So they are doing a fundraising for a new playground to add to. And they have a goal of wanting to raise $45,000. I'm not quite sure where they're at this point. But they do have a GoFundMe page set up, which is www.gofundme.com and then /Amanda-C-Row-Playground. And I'm sure they have a link on the website as well. And I think that concludes my updates. Thank you.
Any other updates? Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to really quickly just share with the board and say a public thank you to the Family Partnership Committee. I'm the board member on that committee. We meet every month. I enjoy every meeting that we have, and I think that the input and the feedback that we get from the members of that committee is really important. Specifically, I wanted to point out that they helped give a lot of input on the survey that's put out for the facility study. They gave some incredibly valuable feedback, specifically noting how important it was for the board to have meaningful engagement from the community. The feedback that the Family Partnership Committee gave allowed that survey to be, in my opinion, a lot easier to read for many folks, a lot easier to translate into different languages, and I think it lends itself to giving us the information that the board thought was important to get from the community. So again, I just wanted to thank Grace Valenzuela, who helps organize that committee, and the members of that committee who helped us. And again, to point out how much I love being at those meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson.
Sorry, I did forget one thing. And I'm not sure if any other board members are attending, but myself and Ms. Schneider, the executive director of the foundation, are attending JMG, which is Jobs for Maine's Graduates, 25 years of success event, which is this Friday at 6 o'clock up in Augusta. And it's celebrating their since 1993 that they have a long-time partners, have helped more than 50,000 Maine students graduate from high school and connected them to a pathway toward continued education. And so if you are going, hope to see you there. And it'll be a great event. It's Maine Students, Maine's Future is their logo, and should be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
Just very quickly, point out that the Buildings for a Future Advisory Building Committee met last week as well. That is the first time that the ABC had come together since we had selected a architect for the Lyseth project. So we, the committee had an opportunity to meet with the architect team to see what where they are in the planning stages and give some feedback into that and plan the next meeting. So we are in the process of bringing the ABC back together to help with the schematic design, and then we also will be bringing forward to the board through the appointments committee the building-based what is it?
The Building Level Advisory Committee.
Building level. I know it was BLAC, but I couldn't remember what the L was for. So the Building Level Advisory Committee, which if you recall when we did the governance work last year, that was the group that was going to oversee the actual construction of, the decisions, the more sort of on the ground decisions. And that is, primarily people from the school community that will serve on that group, chaired by a board member who is from that district or an at-large board member that would chair that group. So we will be moving forward when the appointments committee is done with its next project. We've got another one in store for them, so that's coming.
Thank you. That concludes committee reports. We'll move on to consent items. Would the superintendent read the acknowledgement of donations made to the school district?
Sure. Under Board Policy KCD, the school board accepts by unanimous consent contributions made to the school district of durable goods, goods of significant value and of symbolic importance. As required by that policy, all of the donations are listed in the board memo accompanying this item, and has been the practice each donor will receive a written contribution acknowledgement expressing our heartfelt gratitude and for their tax purposes. So with that, I would like to thank the many contributors to the Portland Public Schools, and there are many in this list, that have made donations of durable goods, goods of substantial value and historical or commemorative significance. These contributors are listed in the board agenda materials by name and donation, and we are incredibly grateful for their support of our work.
Thank you. And we did board focus already. Moving into old business, we have consideration and action to authorize the superintendent to enter into a sole source contract with Davis Demographics for enrollment and capacity analysis and consulting services. Is there a motion? Ms. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Mori Oni. And would the superintendent like to speak to the motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is the first of two actions that we're asking you to take to advance our enrollment and capacity study. This action asks you to authorize me to negotiate and enter into a sole source contract with Davis Demographics for the purpose of assisting the district with the district's facility and capacity review process. During the 2019 budget process, it became apparent that changes in the state funding formula and the increased valuation for Portland would likely lead to ongoing reductions in state funding for Portland Public Schools for the foreseeable future. As part of the board's commitment to the council and community in the budget process, the board committed the district to review all aspects of the district's current enrollment and capacity to determine if there are efficiencies that can be implemented to reduce the overall cost of education. To that end, the board adopted a resolution on May 15th calling for me to present a plan for executing comprehensive facility and capacity analysis over the course of the 2018-19 school year. This summer, we began working with Davis Demographics, a company with history of working with the Portland Public Schools on similar projects. Most recently, they worked with us in connection with the elementary facilities work for Buildings for Our Future. And on August 15th and September 2nd, the board participated in workshops to discuss the work plan, review the proposals received by staff, to assist in the work and discuss the parameters for the commission, to oversee the work and discuss the composition of the commission. Following the September 2nd workshop, the board conducted a public hearing to allow members of the public to weigh in on the proposed work plan, and the packet for today's board meeting includes the scope of functions that will be completed by the contractor as part of this process. We have a draft contract from Davis Demographics that we are working with legal counsel to review, and hopefully with today's authorization signed shortly. So with that, I would like to move that forward.
Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, is there any public comment on the motion?
Yes, it's just me. So hi, I guess this is the right time to say this. My name is Ben, and first of all, I don't know how you people do it. I mean, every time I come here, you're here till like almost, I'm amazed. I applaud you, and thank you for all the hard work you do for all of us. Second point is, I'm tired. I've been at work all day. I've been sat there on that, frankly, rather uncomfortable bench for a number of hours, watching you diligently go about your work. I'm really here to just speaking as a parent. I have two kids in Longfellow School. I campaigned hard. I walked. I volunteered. I went door to door for the 4 schools thing, and I was very excited when that passed, and that the voice of the people in my community were heard. And now I hear that there's this report going on. Maybe I don't know all the facts, but I'm frankly feel more than a bit let down. Like, I thought we had decided all of this. I appreciate that we need to look at ways of making our schools more efficient, but my concern is that if we're fixing 4 schools, which I will remind you is what the people of Portland voted for, that the potential for us getting halfway through the process and suddenly deciding, oh, we're going to consolidate X, Y, or Z, adversely affects the two schools that are in the most need, being Presumpscot and Longfellow. I worry that we're going to go into this, and it's not just me. I speak for a number of people in my neighbourhood who this past weekend we were all talking about it, and everybody's frankly pretty upset about it. And I'm not using fire pit language here. I'm going to be, I'm going to keep it civil, but people are not happy that we've went through all this business and only to now be faced with, and I don't know if Portland Press Herald is misquoting you, Superintendent, but if there is, no legal barrier to, decisions being made down the road about how that money is going to be spent, I think that's outrageous. I think that is fundamentally undemocratic, and I can only assume I've got the wrong end of the stick here, because the more I say it to myself and the more I think about it, the more outrageous it seems. So we can't have people in Portland voting to fix 4 schools. They didn't vote for, fix 4 schools unless you come up with a better idea. They voted to fix 4 schools, and that's what we should be doing. And I really, truly hope that is what we're going to do. And I fully appreciate now why public comment is saved for the end, because I'm out of juice. I can't go on. So thank you all for your hard work. I would just ask that you remember the efforts and thoughts and energy that people of Portland, all over Portland, have put into that 4-school campaign. Let's not throw away. I'm just baffled. I thought that of all places, the school board was going to be on top of this. I thought we had an overwhelming majority of school board members who were all for it. I guess I should have been here at the previous meeting to witness whatever it was that went down. But thank you all for your work, and I truly hope we can fix our elementary schools that are really the centre of, at least I speak from my community, is really the centre of our community. If that doesn't continue to be the case, it will be a real shame. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I'll close the public comment. Is there any board discussion? Ms. Thompson.
I think I just want to make clear that the resolution, the intent, was not to take away from the voters for the 4 schools, because this is all for all facilities, including middle schools and high schools. So it's not focused on the elementary schools, and I understand the concerns from the community, and I think that the main idea of all of this was not necessarily, while they will be included, we want to also look at other opportunities that may exist every year when we go into the budget season and we go to the council or we go to the community. We continue to hear, oh, you can close schools or you can redistrict and so on and so forth. In the last report that we saw, there wasn't enough attrition of students to close a school, and there wasn't the lines. We've adjusted for Ocean Avenue, and so we've done that. And I think it's more so the intent of the resolution was to look, yes, but also to put to bed, hopefully, those lingering questions of whether or not redistricting is needed. But then also there's conversations that have happened in the past around our high schools, which this has gone on since I was at Portland High School, that the numbers fluctuate between all of the schools, and should we combine the high schools and so on and so forth. So it's a bigger, I think, discussion than the 4 elementary schools, but certainly personally, I respect the work of that, and I was a proponent of that 4 schools. So I think it's more so all of us looking holistically at the full district and what our facilities look like, so that we can justify to the community as well as to the council when we're asking them for X amount of dollars, and then asking the voters to go out and vote, that we have looked at all opportunities and just to see that. So I just want to make sure that we're clear. It's not necessarily, while it may result in savings in some forms, it doesn't mean that we're doing this expedition to go in and save X amount of dollars to close a school or anything of that nature. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. I guess it wasn't really, I think the Press Herald in some ways, it was, the way it was phrased was kind of made people very, very nervous, and I don't blame them, but I just wanted to add that explanation a little bit. Thank you.
Any other board comments? Ms. Mori Oni.
This being my 10th year on the board, this feels like something we have thought about or even talked about needing to do. Do a full review of all of our facilities, and it has never seemed to be the right time. It has never seemed to be, we may be slaughtered with this, to be perfectly honest. As your elected official for your district, I can honestly agree with you that as a proponent of the four-school bond, at this point, we have to look at all, I have to look at all options at this time, only because year after year, we cannot get ahead in these in curriculum work we want to do, or in staffing that we want to do. We can't seem to get ahead of it to make investments, strategic investments, that really turn the corner for all of our students. And that's the part that it would be amazing if we could have some type of buffer each year to be able to go, you know what, we don't have to beg, our voters each year, could you please, extend the X amount of dollars or for the schools every time. We could feel a little bit more breathing room around the strategic planning around the Portland Promise work. So that's where I am very interested. I consider this wholeheartedly a research project to finally get all the data and information hopefully collected around these facilities. I agree with Ms. Thompson. We are making absolutely no decision, and right now tonight I can honestly guarantee you I am not making any decision on what would be the outcome. But I would love to see some way that we could find some type of savings so that we can invest more in the areas. We can move this district forward and continually. It feels a little sometimes like we take one step forward and two or three back each year, or we stay status quo, and that's not okay. When you know that one child has 1 year in 5th grade and that year is precious and priceless to make a difference in their lives. So I'm happy that we're finally getting to this. It's not comfortable. It doesn't feel good in any way, but I'd rather consider it as a hopeful that we can find savings and opportunities, and seeing it as a positive for our district. So at this point, I just had to respond to that because I feel your pain too. I know exactly what it means to our community, these schools, and but I'm not going to go ahead and project that yet. I want us to all be working collectively and hearing from the community, what do you want? What do you want? And we've heard it loud and clear with our school bond, and now we have all the other facility needs and to be looking at as well. So thank you. That was a little lengthy, but I appreciate your time.
Any other board comments? I would just echo everything that Ms. Mori Oni just said. I think we're doing this so that we have data to make informed decisions, because we're faced every year with having to make difficult decisions. And, an example of that is how this past year, this board worked for year after year to extend the school year, because we knew that more time in the classroom makes a difference in achievement. And this year, we had to just knock all of that back. And it was because of the budget, So when we're faced with choices of having to make the cuts, and the choices between programs and teachers or facilities, we at least have to have the data in hand to know what our options are. So that, to me, is what this is about. All right. With that said, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of authorizing the superintendent to enter into a sole source contract with Davis Demographics for enrollment and capacity analysis and consulting services, please indicate. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, item B, consideration and action to direct the board's appointment committee to select and recommend to the board 2 school board members, 2 city councilors, and 6 community members to the appointment to the Facility and Capacity Task Force by October 9th, 2018. Community members should represent the diverse communities and areas of interest among the Portland Public Schools community. Is there a motion? Mr. Atkinson, seconded by Mr. Balfonts. And would the superintendent like to speak to this motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is the second of 2 actions we're asking you to take to advance the enrollment and capacity study. Your May 15th resolution included a call for including community engagement in the review of our facilities and capacity. And to that end, the work plan that I presented to you included the appointment of a commission made up of elected officials, community members, and staff to oversee the study. To gather and review community input and to make recommendations by January of 2019. Today, we are asking that you charge the board's appointments committee with recommending the membership of the Portland Public Schools Facility and Capacity Commission by the October 9th meeting of the board. At the September 2nd board workshop, you gave us guidance to staff. You gave guidance to us around the composition of the commission. The charge to the Appointments Committee thus reflects this feedback. The Appointments Committee would be asked to select from among community volunteers a maximum of 6 community members to reflect the diversity of the community. Additionally, the committee would recommend 2 school board members and 2 city councilors to sit on the commission. And the Appointments Committee recommendations are to be delivered to the board for a first reading at a special meeting of the board that's scheduled for a week from today, October 9th. There will be a workshop on the Appointments Committee's recommendations immediately before that board meeting, and the second reading will be scheduled for the regularly scheduled meeting of the board on October 16th. I do want to point out that in addition to the recommendations by the Appointments Committee, my recommendations included that we also have 2 principals to be appointed by the Portland Administrators Association and 2 teachers appointed by the Portland Education Association. And then based on the feedback that we received from the board at the September 2nd workshop, we are also recommending to include an educational technician member to the commission, and that will be appointed by the head of the educational technician unit of the Portland Education Association, so consistent with the recommendations for the other staff people. And so that brings the commission to a total of 15 people.
Any questions on the motion? Ms. Thompson.
So on this particular resolution in the Appointments Committee, I think it's different from the last one when we did the Building Committee, and we asked the chair to speak with the mayor about 2 city councilors. So what I'm assuming here, that once we vote on this evening, that as chair of the Appointments Committee, I would reach out to all the board members and ask them to express interest of who would like to serve on this, and then bring those names forward to my fellow committee members, and then also do the same with the city councilors, because the last time when it was yourself appointing as chair, they went through formal action at the city council, and there was a little hubbub about that. So I guess my question is that I would assume as chair of the Appointments Committee, I would put it out to the councilors and ask them to express interest. I know we've had 1 city councilor already come forward to express interest, but again, to make sure that we make sure everybody's aware that that would be something that would be part of our work. Is that correct, Superintendent?
That's my understanding,
Okay.
and I have discussed it with City Manager Jennings and
Okay.
Asked him to help us to recruit 2 councilors.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I just want a clarification.
Any other questions? Mr. Atkinson.
Yeah, I just I was chatting with one of our counselors the other day, and they were mentioning the pre-K expansion and what effect this, any consolidation may have on pre-K. And I'm wondering what If there's room for some sort of a workshop where the board actually gives some input to the committee on the district's future plans and how that may impact recommendations. I know that we've got the community side, we've got the data side coming from Davis Demographics. I'm wondering, perhaps staff is fully equipped to handle all of that, but yeah, I just wondered if there's any.
I want to point out that we are bringing our plan for pre-K expansion to the board on October 16th. So at the next regularly scheduled meeting, Assistant Superintendent Nally and members of the Starting Strong work group that have been, as you know, working over the course of the year, will be bringing forward, our recommendations for how to get to universal pre-K, which is a stated goal of the board, and so that will, and we, these things work out sometimes, and this is, our plan was to have that strategy set for the fall, and it's necessary because I think that, to the extent that we are talking about an expansion of our current pre-K presence, that absolutely does have a facilities impact, so that needs to be taken into consideration as the commission goes about doing its work, and it will be included in the data that we provide to our consultants around these are the specifications, this is what we would expect to have in place. So we're looking forward to doing that, but we are absolutely considering the pre-K expansion as part of what the district would have in place, and so we'll be talking about that on the 17th.
Great. Yeah, it just my concern is just making sure that the commission is fully equipped to come back to us with actionable stuff.
And like at the last meeting, we presented on the Bayside direction, because again, and we talked about the fact that the reason we wanted to do that at the time was because we wanted it to be sort of weighed into the work that's done around facilities, because that has facilities implications, as does the pre-K. So we want to put as many of those things that we know about on the table as the commission begins its work.
Great. Well, thank you for being far ahead of me on that curve.
We're one-on-one this week.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair. Just real quick, so I also, like Mr. Atkinson just mentioned, I also had some conversations that where the pre-K got brought up. So I was wondering, maybe we can extend an invitation to the City Council for that presentation, because I think it would create a pretty significant change to Portland Public Schools, and I think it would be valuable for them to understand all the work that's gone into the planning and the rationale that the superintendent and the board had for going back to the drawing board and rethinking how we would propose universal pre-K in the district. So inviting the council might be helpful to let them to understand what we're doing. Thank you.
And just to remind folks, we are still on the appointments motion. Not the contents. Any other questions on the appointments motion? Seeing none, is there any public comment on the motion to do the appointments? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of directing the board's appointment committee to select and recommend to the board 2 school board members, 2 city councilors, and 6 community members for appointment to the Facility and Capacity Task Force by October 9th, 2018. Community members should represent the diverse communities and areas of interest among the Portland Public Schools community. Please indicate. It's unanimous. Okay, we're on to new business, and I think this actually would be a good time to take up our unagended item we had this evening, so I'm going to read this motion and ask for somebody to make it. Motion to deny the grievance and direct the chair to provide written notice of the decision to the parties. Is there a motion? Ms. Mori Oni, seconded by Mr. Balfonts. Is there, Would the superintendent, I don't know if do you need to speak to this? No. It's a personnel matter, so there's no any of that stuff. So we'll just go ahead and move to a vote on this. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, back to our regular agenda. Under new business, we have consideration and action to appoint Roberto Rodriguez as the delegate to the Maine School Board Association MSBA Delegate Assembly on October 25th, 2018. Is there a motion? Ms. Mori Oni, seconded by Mr. Balfonts. And would the superintendent like to speak to this motion?
Yes, the Constitution of the Maine School Boards Association provides that each active regular member board of the MSBA and each vocational region associate member board is entitled to elect a voting delegate to participate in the association's annual delegate assembly. The delegate assembly is responsible for proposed constitution and bylaw changes and considers resolutions of the association. So we are strongly encouraged by MSMA to elect a local delegate so that we have a voice in this process. This year's delegate assembly is scheduled for 3:25 p.m. on Thursday, October 25th, the first day of the MSMA Annual Fall Conference. We surveyed the board when we first received this information, and Board Member Rodriguez volunteered to represent the board at the assembly. So I also want to mention, as Ms. Thompson talked about the National Association of School Boards, that we also put out a call to any of the board members who may want to also attend the MSMA conference. That's the local conference here in Augusta on the 25th and the 26th of October. So if anybody is interested in that, just let Janet know, and we will be glad to sign you up. But this is really about, appointing Mr. Rodriguez to be the representative.
Any questions? Ms. Thompson?
I guess since we're off task a little bit. So with regards to the resolutions, do we know yet what those resolutions are? And those will be on an agenda, so Mr. Rodriguez will know when he goes as our delegate to the assembly how to vote?
We just received those yesterday, so
great.
we will, we looked at them last night, and we will we'll get stuff on, not the 9th, but on the 16th agenda to look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment. Any board discussion? Well, I just want to thank Mr. Rodriguez for being willing to go up there. I know it's not always easy to make a trip up to Augusta in the middle of the day, so I appreciate it, and it's very important work. So, thank you. And I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of appointing Roberto Rodriguez as the delegate to the Maine School Board Association MSBA Delegate Assembly on October 25th, 2018, please indicate. It's unanimous. Okay. Personnel. Consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed, 1 year only teachers. Is there a motion? Ms. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Balfonts. And would the superintendent like to speak to this motion?
These are new teachers that we are hiring, and they are all in the budget, occupying vacancies that have been created by retirement or resignations.
Any questions? Ms. Thompson?
Maybe I have an old agenda. Do we have the administrative first?
Yeah,
Oh, is that?
we'll come back to it.
Oh, okay. I just, okay.
Sorry,
thank
I
you.
missed that.
That's all right.
That's okay. Just didn't know if we were voting on those.
No, you don't vote on the administrative one, it's just a recognition,
So I wanted
but,
to make sure that-
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and where it is a personnel matter, we do not have public comment. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the personnel items listed, 1 year only teachers, please indicate. It's unanimous. Going back to item A, administrative acknowledgement, would the superintendent like to speak to that?
Yes, as I know the board knows, we have offered the position of Executive Director of Data and Technology to Mustafa Rustampour, and Mr. Rustampour is scheduled to begin on October 1st, so I'm hopeful that he will be able to join us for the board meeting on October 2nd. Mr. Rustampour holds a bachelor's degree in theoretical economics from Shadid Behetsi University in Tehran, Iran, and he rejoins the central office administrative team after leaving for 1 year to be the Director of Information Systems at Pine Tree Legal Assistance. Mr. Rustampour has a long history with the Portland Public Schools, having served originally as a language facilitator and subsequently as a computer technician and then a computer systems manager. He's a tremendous booster of the Portland Public Schools, and we are so excited to have him back. So looking forward to having him here at our next meeting.
Thank you. And consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed probationary teachers. Is there a motion? Ms. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Balfont. And would the superintendent like to speak to this motion?
Same as the previous one, these are all positions where individuals are being hired to fill positions that have been vacated by resignations and other moves.
And where it's a personnel matter, we do not have public comment. I didn't ask if are there any questions? Seeing none, any board discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the personnel items listed, probationary teachers, please indicate. It's unanimous. Okay, and it is still before the hour of 10 o'clock, so we would ask for any public comment on any items that were not on this evening's agenda.
You have 7 minutes.
Seeing none from the one member of the public, I'll close public comment and call for a motion for adjournment. Ms. Mori Oni, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. All those in favor? It's unanimous.